Welcome back to the A-Level English Guide. In this video, we're starting a new series on language and thought, one of the most fascinating and high-impact topics in Paper 4, Question 2 of the Cambridge A-Level English Language exam. You'll often be asked to analyse how language might shape perception or influence the way people think. To do that well, you need a clear understanding of the key theories behind this idea. In this video, I'll walk you through 4 major approaches to the relationship between language and thought: Franz Boas, Sapir and Whorf, George Lakoff, and Steven Pinker. Let's begin. First, Franz Boas. Boas argued that language is deeply rooted in culture, and that the categories used by a language reflect what matters to its speakers. He challenged the idea that all humans perceive the world in the same way. Instead, he said that each language reflects the worldview of the community that uses it. A classic example is the claim that Inuit communities have many words for different types of snow. That doesn't mean they see more snow. It means snow is more important to their way of life, so their language reflects that. In short, language encodes cultural priorities. In an essay, you might say, in the text, the use of culturally specific vocabulary reflects Boas's idea that language encodes what a community values, highlighting the writer's worldview or priorities. Now let's look at the Sapir Whorf hypothesis, also known as linguistic relativity. Edward Sapir believed that language guides how we perceive and experience the world. His student, Benjamin Whorf, expanded on this, suggesting that language influences not just what we say, but how we think. Whorf studied the Hopi language and claimed it lacked words and grammar for linear time. He argued that Hopi speakers might therefore conceptualize time differently, not as past, present and future, but more fluidly or cyclically. This theory comes in 2 versions. The strong version, called linguistic determinism, says language completely determines what we can think. That version is mostly rejected. The weak version, linguistic relativity, says that language influences our habits of thought. That version is widely accepted. For example, if a language has 2 words for different shades of blue, its speakers may be more likely to notice those differences in everyday life. In your essay, you could write, the grammatical structure and lexical choices in the text help direct the reader's attention to certain ideas, supporting the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis that language shapes habitual thought. Next is George Lakoff and his theory of conceptual metaphor. Lakoff argues that metaphors aren't just poetic language, they're tools we use to understand complex ideas. For example, calling a political campaign a battle or describing inflation as attacking our economy frames those issues using war metaphors. That changes how we think about them. They become things to fight, defend, or fear. Lakoff showed that metaphors guide reasoning and influence perception, especially in politics, advertising, and moral debates. In your essay, you might say, in the text, the use of metaphor, such as framing crime as a battle, supports Lakoff's theory that metaphors influence how readers understand and emotionally respond to issues. Finally, let's look at Steven Pinker. Pinker disagrees with the idea that language shapes thought. Instead, he argues that thought comes first, and that language is simply a way to express what we're already thinking. He calls this mentalese, a kind of internal, non-verbal language of thought. Pinker uses examples from child development, neuroscience, and animal cognition to show that people can think complex thoughts even if they don't yet have words for them. So, while he agrees that language might influence what we focus on, he believes it doesn't limit what we're able to think. In your essay, you might say, while the use of metaphor in the text may frame how the issue is presented, Pinker would argue that the writer's core thoughts existed prior to any linguistic choice, making language a vehicle for thought, not its origin. Let's recap the 4 approaches. Boas. Language reflects cultural values and worldview. Sapir and Whorf. Language influences perception and attention. Lakoff. Metaphors frame how we reason and feel. Pinker. Thought exists independently. Language expresses, not shapes. In the next video, part 2, we'll apply these theories to a real Cambridge exam question on language and thought. We'll annotate the source text, identify key issues, and plan a banned 5-level essay together. If this helped, hit like and subscribe. Your next grade boost might just be 1 click away. See you in part 2.